Dawn breaks over Pharsalus. Two Roman armies, 60,000 men, stare each other down. Caesar's veterans, armor dented from 100 battles, pound their spears on shields. Pompey's polished legions shout back, their banners flapping in the Thessalian summer breeze. Trumpet blares. Pompey's cavalry explodes forward. 7,000 horsemen in a tidal wave of muscle and spears. Earth shakes as hooves tear the ground. Caesar's outnumbered riders bolt backward, fast to fight panic. The Pompeians whoop, charging deeper into the gap between armies, spears aimed at Caesar's exposed flank. Behind Caesar's front lines, boots crunch dirt. The fourth line of legionaries, hidden in the dust and chaos, rises like ghosts. These aren't rookies. Their arms are scarred, their spears chipped from wars and gore. As the Pompeian horses close in, the veterans roar and thrust their pillars skyward, creating a sudden forest of steel points. The cavalry rears back, riders shout, horses scream. Julius Caesar conquered nations, but even he couldn't conquer the laws of physics. Now you can. Introducing Mova globes, the first rotating globe, powered entirely by light. No batteries, no cords, just pure silent motion. With hidden magnets and cutting-edge technology, it turns effortlessly in ambient light. Choose from over 70 stunning designs, including world map, outer space collections, featuring NASA graphics and famous artworks. It's the perfect gift for the person who has everything, because they've never had anything like this. Bring home the wonder of motion. Mother globes. Links to explore and shop are in the description below. In January of 49 BC, Julius Caesar defied the Senate's authority by crossing the Rubicon River with the 13th Legion, uttering the famed phrase, Alea iacta est. The die is cast. These acts ignited a civil war that fractured the Roman Republic. By spring, Caesar has seized Rome, scattering Pompey and his aristocratic allies to the eastern provinces. His lightning campaign in Spain then shattered Pompey's veteran legions at Ilerda, securing the west. By 48 BC, Caesar pursued Pompey across the Adriatic, landing in Epirus with a skeletal force. At Dyrrhachium, Pompey's fortified coastal stronghold, Caesar attempted an audacious siege, building 25 kilometers of circumvallation walls to starve his rival out. But Pompey's counterattacks exploited weak points, culminating in a disastrous rout that forced Caesar to abandon the siege. Bloodied but unbowed, Caesar withdrew into Thessaly, both to regroup and relieve his besieged legate Domitius Calvinus, who was harried by Pompey's Syrian reinforcements. Pompey, now confident, gave chase. Caesar, ever the strategist, leveraged his legion's unmatched mobility, a hallmark of his Gallic campaigns, ordering forced marches of 30 miles a day. His goal: sever Pompey from his fleet's steady supplies along the coast, and instead sustain his army from Thessaly's fertile plains. Through grueling night marches and daring river crossings, Caesar evaded Pompey's attempts to encircle him, with Calvinus's forces mere hours before Pompey's trap snapped shut. Now reinforced, Caesar pivoted south, storming defiant cities to secure grain and loyalty. The reunited Caesarian armies encamped near Aeginium, a crossroads town guarding Thessaly's northern approaches. Here, Caesar revealed his strategic priority: control the breadbasket of Greece. Thessaly's wheat fields and walled cities could sustain his army indefinitely, but loyalty wavered. At Gomphi, the first city on his path, gates slammed shut. Townsfolk, emboldened by garbled reports of Dyrrhachium's rout, jeered from ramparts. Caesar, in his commentaries, noted their choice to share Pompey's victory rather than be spectators of Caesar's calamity. Their defiance demanded retribution. Gomphi's streets ran red as Caesar's veterans, battle-hardened men who had felled Gallic chieftains and Germanic warlords, unleashed pent-up fury. Towers were scaled, gates splintered, and temples plundered. The massacre was deliberate theatre. Caesar, ever the propagandist, ensured survivors spread tales of his wrath. Neighboring metropolis capitulated without a blow, its elders prostrating themselves before Caesar's advance guard. By July's end, all Thessaly bowed to his will, its granaries replenishing Caesarian supply trains. The legions pressed south, halting at the Enipes River, near Pharsalus. Pompey, meanwhile, pivoted south from Larissa, where reinforcements, fresh from Syrian garrisons, swelled his ranks. His combined force, numbering 47,000 legionaries and 7,000 cavalry, occupied a sloping plateau near the Pharsalian plain. The position was formidable, elevated, watered by springs, and flanked by rocky outcrops. Yet cracks marred Pompey's coalition. Senatorial allies men like Cicero and Cato grudgingly acknowledged his command, but second-guessed every decision. Labienus, Caesar's former deputy turned defector, clamored for aggressive action, while Scipio urged caution. Caesar, by contrast, ruled unquestioned. His legions, though outnumbered, were a monolith of loyalty. For days, Caesar arrayed his legions in battle order, taunting Pompey to descend. Each morning trumpets blared, standards dipped, and 22,000 veterans advanced within a mile of Pompey's ramparts. The ritual was both a provocation and training. Caesar interspersed light infantry among his cavalry, drilling them to withstand mounted charges. Most ingeniously, he drew a cohort from each legion's third line, 2,000 hand-picked men, and formed a clandestine fourth line. Armed with pillar as makeshift spears, they rehearsed thrusting upward at cavalry, aiming for faces and throats. Fear not their numbers, Caesar extorted, but pity their arrogance. Pressure from Pompey's camp proved his undoing. Senators, lulled by Dyrrhachium's minor victory, dismissed Caesar's legions as starvelings and brigands. Labienus, swearing oaths on his sword, vowed to return with Caesar's head. On August 9th, Pompey abandoned caution. At dawn, his legions advanced beyond their entrenched lines, their crimson banners rippling in the Thessalian breeze. Caesar, observing the movement, countermanded his own order to decamp. Assembling his men, he delivered a tense address. "We must defer our march and set our thoughts on battle, the contest we have long craved. Let us meet the foe with resolute swords. Such a day may never come again." Pompey's army epitomized republican opulence. His left flank, commanded by Labienus, bristled with 2 legions, once loyal to Caesar. The 1st and 15th handed over to the Senate at the Civil War's outbreak. The center under Scipio featured Syrian levies in polished armor. The right, led by Afranius, anchored Spanish veterans and the Cilician legion, Pompey's favorites. Cavalry, commanded by Labienus, massed on the left, 7,000 horsemen from Galatia, Cappadocia, and Rome's equestrian elite. Caesar's dispositions were pragmatic. The left flank, weakened at Dyrrhachium, merged the 8th and 9th legions into a single unit under Antony. Calvinus held the center with the 11th and 12th legions. The right, overseen by Sulla, featured the battle-scarred 10th legion, Caesar's Iron Men, flanked by cavalry in the hidden 4th line. The fate of Rome rested with those men and their spears. As Horn signaled advance, a centurion of the 10th legion, Gaius Crastinus, stepped forward. Saluting Caesar, he declared, "Ave, Caesar, today I shall earn your gratitude, living or dead." The words electrified the ranks. With a roar, the first 2 Caesarian lines surged forward, only to halt abruptly midway to redress their ranks. Pompey's recruits, expecting a headlong rush, stood rigid, their pillar clutched in sweating hands. Caesar's veterans then unleashed their true charge, hurling javelins and drawing swords in one fluid motion. Pompey's cavalry, a tsunami of horseflesh and glittering lance tips, crashed into Caesar's outnumbered flank. Labienus, leading the charge, anticipated easy victory. As his riders scattered Caesar's horsemen, the hidden 4th line emerged. Cohorts dropped to one knee, driving pillar upward into horses' bellies and riders' faces. The carnage was grotesque. Steeds reared, throwing riders onto upturned spear points. Panic spread like plague. Labienus' cavalry fled, trampling their own archers in their haste. With Pompey's cavalry scattered, Caesar's 4th line pivoted sharply to strike the unprotected left flank of Pompey's infantry. The sudden assault got Labienus' legions mid-engagement, still locked in combat with Caesar's advancing front lines. Now hammered from the side by javelin-wielding cohorts, Pompey's left-wing troops faltered. Their ranks, already strained by the relentless push of Caesar's veterans, began to splinter. The Pompeian infantry, many of them raw recruits, unaccustomed to such ferocity, fought stubbornly at first. Shields clashed in the grinding press of bodies, swords rusting over the rims in desperate jabs, but Caesar's veterans, disciplined and battle-hardened, exploited every gap. The 4th line's attack disrupted their cohesion, forcing entire units to turn sideways to face the new threat. This split their focus, leaving them vulnerable. The main force still battering their front. As chaos spread, Caesar unleashed his fresh 3rd line. Reserves held back until this critical moment. These rested troops crashed into the Pompeian center with renewed energy. Their advance, methodical and unrelenting, Scipio's Syrian legions, already struggling to hold their ground, buckled under the dual pressure. Soldiers at the rear, sensing the disaster, began edging backwards. Their retreat started as a slow shuffle, but quickly devolved into panic as cries of "They are encircling us!" echoed through the ranks. On the right flank, Afranius' trusted legions, including the Cilician veterans, fought longer, their experience briefly steadying the line. But the collapse of the left and center left them isolated, Caesar's cohorts having shattered Labienus's wing. Now wheeled inward to flank Afranius's position, hemmed in 3 sides, and assailed by a hail of pillar from the 4th line. Even these seasoned troops broke. Men discarded their shields to flee faster, tripping over the fallen in their rush to escape. The rout became total. Pompey's army dissolved into a mob of fleeing soldiers, surging toward their camp in disarray. Caesar's troops pursued mercilessly, cutting down stragglers and herding thousands into submission. Those who reached the hills found no refuge. Caesar's cavalry, now regrouping, sealed off escape routes. By nightfall, the once proud Republican army had ceased to exist. The battle's outcome hinged not on grand maneuvers, but on relentless pressure, Caesar's veterans' tighter formations, and the decisive flank attacks shattered Pompey's numerical advantage. What began as an orderly withdrawal became a slaughter, the field littered with abandoned standards and the trampled dead. Casualty figures starkly illustrated the victory's scale. 15,000 Pompeians dead, 25,000 captured, against Caesar's 230 losses. Crustinus lay among the slain, a sword thrust through his mouth. Pompey, escaping to Egypt, would meet betrayal on a Pelusium beach. Caesar, now Rome's seemingly unchallenged master, must have thought that the Republic's fate was sealed at Pharsalus.